My name is Codie McKnight, and I am with Jamesway Chickmaster Incubator Company. I'm excited to talk to you today about the upgrade options we have available for you with your multi-stage machines. And when we talk about keeping your Chickmaster machines running like new, I'm not just referring to when your machines may have been installed. If you have machines that were installed in the 90s or before, we have upgrades that are available to allow you to take advantage of the advancements in technology we've had along the way to improve the performance of your machines and improve the efficiency of your machines. Now, before we get into what the upgrades actually are, I want to touch briefly on the things to consider as you're looking into installing these upgrades. We're going to discuss upgrades to your ventilation system, to your turning, to your plumbing systems, and to your controls. There are replacement parts associated with all of these. Now, you're already familiar with replacement parts and maintaining your equipment. That does not change, but it will improve when you replace what you might currently be using with a more modern version where we have more parts in stock, more readily available to reduce your lead times. When it comes to plumbing and controls, you have several components to consider for replacement parts and maintenance. All of these should be part of a regular preventative maintenance program to be checked. With your plumbing, those valves, coils, and solenoids, all your various nozzles and pumps, all your connections should be checked regularly. Just because you're not experiencing a failure yet does not mean it's working as efficiently as it should be. And the same comes with your controls. Especially on some of the older style controls, there are several relays, circuit breakers, boards, your displays have to be maintained. These things will get easier with these upgrades. They will get easier to receive parts for, but they still need to be checked regularly to make sure they're working as efficiently as they should. More to consider for ventilation and turning. We are going to discuss more upgrades for these, but you still need to manage your fans as regularly as you can. Just because that fan is turning does not mean it's working to the level it needs to be. Regularly check those RPMs, even with our newer fans, make sure they're running where they need to be. And the same comes for your belts, your dampers. We're all familiar with this, but just as a reminder, these are all things that you need to have with or without these upgrades in your preventative maintenance program. So let's get into what the upgrades actually are. We're going to cover 8 of them today. We're going to discuss upgrades to your control systems, your turning motors. We're going to discuss our CVH fan upgrade, our 2-zone or split cooling, our exhaust upgrade, our plastic fan board upgrade, our ventilation upgrade kit, and our ventilation upgrade kit with the optional Vosterman fan boards and fans. These upgrades in themselves are all fantastic additions to your hatchery. But I mean this when I say when you combine them in your machine, they will complement one another very well to make your machine as efficient as it can possibly be. So let's get into it. When we talk about our control upgrades, I'm going to discuss 3 of them today: our GeMeric 3, our GeMeric 2, and our Gen 4. Our GeMeric 3 has a large, easy-to-use touchscreen that can be installed in your existing control cabinet if you choose to do it that way. It's easy to install, and you can do it with the machine full of eggs if you don't have the luxury of removing those eggs before installation. When you improve your temperature control with dual PID loops, you're going to achieve much better stability in your incubation cabinet than if you do not run dual PID loops. You get access to things like PLCs that you didn't have whenever you might have installed your older machines with the older generation of controls. Our GeMeric 3 is compatible with our Maestro and Advisor management software, and it is all sensor based, so you eliminate the need for some of those outdated mercury thermostats. It does have a very well complementary modulating damper that it works well with that increases the efficiency when you're moving air into your machine if you compare that to the older blower style air inlets. It does have the ability to implement a staging program. If you're running a control, especially on your hatchers, that doesn't have the ability to implement a staging program to change and monitor the needs of that hatching cabinet As you progress through your hatch cycle, this is an invaluable tool for you to have at your disposal. It really helps as those conditions change and you need to change the way you manage your equipment. It does include all of the alarms that you would expect out of a incubation control. You have alarms for turning, for temperature, for humidity. All of these alarms can be modified to get the delay time that you would like, set the actual point that you would like for it to alarm, and manage what alarms you prioritize over others. And when you walk up to one of these controls that is an alarm, it is very easy to identify not only what that alarm is, but where exactly it is in that machine so that you can greatly reduce your troubleshooting and fix the issue faster. It does work in conjunction with our central OR alarm system and some others that are out there on the market. It does have various features, including fumigation and others, to allow you to customize how you want to operate your setters and hatchers. Those options can include exactly how you want this control to manage your incubation cabinet. If you want to prioritize air cooling before you ever add water, if you want to use a combination of air and water, if you want to use a combination of air, water, and humidity, you can set this up to manage your incubation environment how you want it to be managed. It gives you the flexibility to do so. It is a fantastic option for anyone that wants to upgrade their multi-stage machines. One thing I will touch on that is true for all of these controls we're going to discuss today. Something that I have run into with customers, and you experience this every day. If you're running an outdated control that has components that we can no longer support because they're no longer available, what you often run into are people changing out those CPU boards or taking them out, paying a few $100s to send it off plus shipping to have someone refurbish that board, only for you to get it back and put it in the machine and either it still fail or possibly fail shortly after you install. Some of those older CPU boards have been around long enough that they cannot stand up to the stress it takes to manage your incubator effectively. Any of these upgrades that I'm talking about help with that issue. You're not dealing with completely obsolete parts that you have to constantly refurbish that lead to costly downtime and maintenance. Our GeMeric 2 is another great option if for some reason you don't want touchscreen. You have buttons with the GeMeric 2 instead of a touchscreen. It does have a water resistant housing, and the PLC is water resistant as well. You do get the advanced temperature control with 6 cooling modes. You get a lot of the same benefits you get out of the GeMeric 3 without the touchscreen aspect. It still controls dampers, blowers, your turning, lights, all of your alarms. It has the same connectivity to our Maestro and our Advisor software, and it's easy to use. It is simple to install, the same as our GeMeric 3 is, and you can do it with eggs inside of the incubator. We're going to talk a lot about the simplicity of the installation and how you don't have to change everything you're doing to implement these upgrades. You can implement them into your process easily and effectively. Any of these options are great for you if you're running an outdated control. Our Gen 4 upgrade is the top of the line control that you can put on a multi-stage machine. Customers that have the Gen 4 often do not want anything else. Once they get it and they use it, it's known for its simplicity in use. And once you get going with it, you don't want anything else. It is very well established in the market. If you order a new Classic today, it's more than likely going to come with a Gen 4 unless you specify that you do not want it. It is a touchscreen, like the GeMeric 3, very easy to navigate. It uses large, easy to identify icons. You replace a lot of the outdated relays in some of the older controls. A lot of the electrical components get changed for efficiency. This is a more modern control, so it really changes the way that that machine is going to operate. Something to keep in mind with those older relay-based, those older controls that are entirely based on relays, they are not high efficiency controls. They produce a lot of heat. If you've ever opened up a cabinet and taken a thermal image of those older controls, they are glowing. All that heat comes from somewhere, and it's coming from your utilities. So these controls, other than just the ease of use and the increases in performance you're going to get, the efficiency that you get it cannot be matched by older, outdated controls. These PLCs and PIDs that our engineers have implemented greatly increase the efficiency of your machines. Instead of it just being an on-off type control where if I need cooling, I'm cooling. If I need heat, I'm heating. It gets you there smarter. And we can talk about these much more in depth and get more into the technical things as you're interested in getting them into your machines. This has the same connectivity, all the features that you would get out of our other controls. It's just the most advanced control that we offer for multi-stage machines. Moving on to our turning. For the past 20 years, new machines have come with a PowerMaster turning motor. If you are not running a PowerMaster turning motor, your current turning motor could be very difficult to maintain, could be very difficult to replace. We used to use Von Weiss motors, and we got to where we could not support them. We could not get the parts. The PowerMaster was our answer. This is our standard turning motor. So we're going to have it in stock. It is dependable. We can offer it at a competitive rate. And if you do not have this, if you're running those older motors, it's time to transition to a PowerMaster. It's time to get these. They're interchangeable with those older motors. This is a direct replacement. We have kits available. We have everything you need to put this in to replace your older, harder to manage, harder to maintain turning systems. Moving on to our Hatchery fan assembly. We have a new high efficiency corrugated coil that creates water turbulence that improve the heat transfer inside of your hatcher. Those coils are offset. It's hard to tell from the picture, but if you're looking at this, those coils are slightly offset. What you get with that, as that air is being pushed through that coil, you get more surface area contact with the air to condition your air more efficiently and get the most out of those coils. Some of those older designs, the coils are straight on, and you don't get the efficiency in air conditioning that you would get with a corrugated, slightly offset coil. It eliminates the shortcuts and turbulence that you can get trying to force this through something that's not as aerodynamic and it's not offset as this is. This does have a design to offer more uniform temperature and airflow in your hatchers. You'll see on the next slide this compared to our older design and how it changes how you bring air and how you condition it before pushing it into your cabinet. And with the new 6-blade fan design, they move more air and they're more efficient than the older former design that we used to use. So your performance is increased, you're doing it more efficiently, and it's easier to maintain. What do you get when you put this in? When you move air more efficiently in your hatcher, and when you condition the air properly, that air is going where you want it to go, you reduce or eliminate high temp alarms. If you are struggling with high temperatures in your hatchers, you're not able to keep them cool enough, this can help alleviate those headaches. You have enough to worry about without having to go in, open up hatchers, try to keep temps where you want them to be. This hatcher fan upgrade can help you tremendously. You get less chick down with the way these are made. Those older designs where the cooling coil were behind the fan, where it's not having air blown directly onto it, have a tendency to develop chick down. That insulates the cooling coil. You have to do what they call milking the coil, get that chick down off to eliminate the insulation and fully utilize the cooling capacity of that coil. You're going to get less chick down buildup because you're moving air directly onto these cooling coils. You don't have the buildup, you don't lose the efficiency of cooling, you maintain that high level of performance. As I mentioned, the high efficiency design reduces the water usage and energy consumption. That is huge. These upgrades that we are going to continue to talk about, this hatchery upgrade, our split cooling that's coming up, all these upgrades that increase efficiency, even if you are number one in agri-stats, you're number one in your company in performance. If you can maintain that level and be more efficient in the process, these upgrades are for you. You can reduce your overhead, those fixed costs that are the result of inefficient equipment. You reduce your cost, you're going to further capitalize on the ability that you have to really maintain your performance at a high level. Ultimately, you're going to have more cool and comfortable chicks in your hatchers if you implement this upgrade and replace your former design. Here you can see our former design next to the new design. With the former design, you have that air inlet coming directly onto the fan coil and then being pulled by the fan through the coil and pushed into the cabinet. With the new design, we have turned that around. That air inlet is closer to the fan. The fan is going to pull that air directly out of the inlet and push it through the cooling coil to condition it more efficiently. You don't have the chick down. You're moving more air with a more efficient fan. It's going to improve your performance. And like I said, even if you're performing at the highest level, doing so more efficiently is always a good thing. On to our two-zone or split cooling. What split cooling is the alternative to those traditional cooling coils that were installed in the machines before we developed split cooling. You have turned your machine, when you get this upgrade, into a zonal cooling capable machine. You can manage the front of the machine and the back of the machine independently. That's going to lead to more stability in your incubation cabinet, greater control over your incubation cabinet. The studies have shown we can remain within 0.2 degrees Fahrenheit of set point with this control, with this upgrade. That is huge. For you to have a stable environment for your developing embryos is invaluable. If you reduce stress on your embryos that come with turbulence, that come with inconsistency in your incubation cabinet, you're always going to be better off. You have the less fluctuation in heating and cooling, because with the cooling system prior to split cooling, when your machine needs cooling, regardless if that hot spot is in the front or the back, the eggs in the back may be perfectly fine. But if you need cooling in the front, you're cooling your entire machine. So split cooling alleviates that issue. You're going to also, on this next slide, we will go through the actual data, the things that we have received from customers that have implemented this upgrade. So along with improving the temperature balance, improving the control you have inside of your incubation cabinet, you get a 45% increase in water cooling capacity, savings of up to 5 kilowatts per day per machine, and you require less water to cool your machines. So that's less stress on your chiller. All of that greatly increases your efficiency. If you have a sustainability target, a lot of us have been tasked with, what are you going to do to make your operation more sustainable? What are you going to do to make your operation more green? Put these in that program. Put this in your request to get this in your facilities, this and others. They all help with efficiency. But if you can say, hey, we're going to put these upgrades in our machines, we're still going to perform at a high level, and we're going to do so more efficiently, it's a great angle to take. 45% increase in water cooling capacity, savings on electricity. It's hard for people to turn that down when we're so focused on greener, more sustainable energy practices. Our exhaust upgrade. Let's face it, the eggs that we set today put off a lot more heat than they put off in the 80s, the 90s, and before. So if you are trying to manage all of that embryonic heat that is generated as those eggs become more exothermic, and you don't have optimal exhaust, you've introduced a stress that is very difficult to manage. What we did to address the increase in heat inside of our incubation cabinets is create an exhaust upgrade to handle the increase. You're going to get 2 exhaust ports per fan, 1 on each side, for you to more efficiently exhaust that embryonic heat as it is coming off of those chicks. Because if you're generating heat and you're having to move it across that incubation cabinet to get to its exhaust point, you've introduced another stressor. You've introduced fluctuations that you can alleviate with this upgrade. The 2 exhaust ports per fan help reduce that propensity for hot spots inside of your machine. And as I'm going to keep saying, you're going to hear me talk about stable environments. All of these upgrades help achieve a more sustainable, more stable environment inside of your incubation cabinets, and that's invaluable, absolutely invaluable. As you can see here, this is a diagram of what this exhaust upgrade does in your machine. You go from having the limited amount of exhaust ports to having 6 running down each side, 2 per fan zone. So as that heat is generated, it evenly disperses out of the machine and gets pulled out as you want it to. Our plastic fan boards. Guys, we talk about biosecurity till we're blue in the face. Biosecurity, sanitation is something that you struggle with every single day. It's a priority in every hatchery. If you are running wooden fan boards, it is very difficult to maintain a high level of biosecurity with those wooden fan boards, especially if they're deteriorating with time. These are made of a durable plastic, and they have a great aluminum frame to hold their form for years to come. So not only is it aesthetically pleasing, not only do you open it up and it looks better than older deteriorating fan boards, they're easier to maintain. I've seen fan boards that were so worn out that you've actually changed it's worn out enough that you've changed the angle that you're pushing air down into that cabinet. Put in new fan boards, you increase your biosecurity. We've all been in, or a lot of us have been into a setter. You lower the fan board, you're looking at the shape that old wooden fan board is in. The paint is starting to chip. Some of that wood has started to expand. You want to talk about a place for bacteria to settle in that you cannot get to. Expanding wood fits directly into that category. You get mold in there, you let bacteria gain a foothold. You can clean the surface all you want. You can use the harshest chemical you want. But the only way to get that bacteria out is to replace that fan board entirely. You can clean and clean, but if your wood is expanding and growing bacteria, you can't touch it. These use your existing fan motors. They have hardware associated, so you remove your old fan boards, you put in these durable, easy to clean, easy to maintain plastic fan boards, you're good to go. So not only are you getting all those benefits in performance, whenever you're opening up your cabinets, simply they're going to look better. It's more aesthetically pleasing to open it up and see this than it is those older fan boards that have deteriorated with time. This is a great complement to our ventilation upgrade kit. The ventilation upgrade kit, you're going to reduce operation and labor costs by implementing this upgrade kit to remove your copper ducting. Those copper ducts have been up there for a long time. They're difficult to maintain. It is impossible to clean all of the parts of that duct. You cannot get to all of them, and many people don't have time to get to all of them. The best way to maintain those copper ducts is to remove them from your machine, because we have the capability of doing that now. With this upgrade, you're going to get the optional humidity systems. You can use our ultrasonic or our cyclomist system that I will cover on the next slide, or you can get it without humidity if you're a hatchery that doesn't want to spray humidity inside of your incubation cabinet. If you get these heat rings and you mount them directly onto the fan board, as you see here, you have now, if you pair this with our split cooling upgrade, you have turned your machine into a truly zonal machine. It can heat and cool the front zone independently of the back zone for a more stable environment, more efficient delivery of the heat and cooling that you need, and you're just going to be a more efficient hatchery. You're going to stop trying to heat and cool that entire cabinet at one time. The removal of those copper ducts, the installation of these heat rings is huge. These are those copper ducts. We've all seen them. We've all scrubbed them. We've all cleaned them. And just from experience, if you're getting this upgrade to remove those copper ducts, you're going to receive a gutter that goes underneath your cooling coils. If you have the ability to get this upgrade with our plastic fan boards, but especially with our split cooling, while you remove that copper duct, you have open access to those split cooling or those cooling coils. Go ahead and take those down, install the split cooling, install the ducting that you get with this upgrade, put those heat rings on, and you take your machine from a single zone, larger machine to a true 2-zone split cooling, split heating machine. I have had customers put this in. You always go in cautiously optimistic. They're pleasantly surprised by the stability they get out of implementing these upgrades. They complement one another very well. These are the humidity systems that are available to you if you choose this upgrade. We have our ultrasonic humidity system, which has a box in the front and rear of the machine that puts a very fine droplet, a cloud-like humidity in the front and rear of the machine to manage your humidity. And then we have our cyclomist system, which mounts directly onto the fan board for you to spray that humidity directly into the airstream and disperse it through your machine as you would like. Then we move on to the ventilation upgrade kit with our optional Vosterman fan boards and fans. You get all of the benefits of the other upgrades we've talked about as far as removing your copper ducting, improving your biosecurity. You get the added benefit of high efficiency fans. As it says here, these fans can save you up to 24% on your electricity usage. You get all the improvements in airflow. You get the better energy consumption. You improve your biosecurity and your maintenance of having to maintain all of those outdated copper ductwork. You get the heat elements with this, and you do it more efficiently. It's a win-win all the way around. With this upgrade, you do get new lighting in your machine. So your visibility is greatly increased for your sets, your transfers, your sanitation, your maintenance, whatever, your safety, whatever it may be. Increased visibility is a good thing. These lighting upgrades are a great complement to your machines. Like I said, you get the replacement wooden fan boards with this. Really, the biggest difference between this and the last one we talked about is the implementation of our Vosterman fans and the lighting. These are all simple to install. They all complement one another very well. That's all the upgrades we have to discuss. I greatly appreciate your time. I hope you have questions. I hope you reach out to us for us to be able to discuss implementing these upgrades into your facilities. I appreciate your time today, and Keith, I'll hand it back to you.